Really? Yesterday we have seen this many things. What is AWS? We have learned. What are the benefits of using clouds? What is AWS regions and what is availability zones? IAM, identity and access management, and we have seen like how to create users, groups, and policies, and we have done a practical for that. And the next thing we have done is what is EC2 instance, what is EC2 service, how we can create an instance, how to use security groups, how we can assign elastic IP address to an EC2 instance, and we have done some practicals on that, right? Any
Yes.
questions you have on this? So today we will start with EC2 user data. So the EC2 topic we will still continue. There are some of the things which is left out, so we will continue on that. So EC2 user data. So user data is something like we can call it as a startup script. So startup script generally used when you configure your EC2 instance for the first time, right? At that time there is one setting called an advanced setting. There you can write your own script, and that script can run at the time of booting. So when your instance gets boots up, that at that time your user data script will run, and it will configure whatever configuration you have mentioned in that user data script. So we will do a hands-on practical on that. We will first understand what user data is. It is possible to bootstrap or instance using an EC2 user data script. Bootstrapping means launching command when a machine starts. That script is only run once at a time at the time of first start. EC2 user data is used to automate boot tasks such as installing updates, installing softwares, downloading common files from internet, anything you can think of, right? So anything, whatever you write in the code, that will run at the time of startup. EC2 user data script runs with the root user. So it runs with the privilege of root user. So let us create one lab, and we can write one small script of Bootstrap, and we can create one EC2 instance on top of it, right? So what we will do is we want to make sure that EC2 instance has Apache HTTP server installed on it to display a simple web page. For it, we are going to write a user data script. The script will be executed at the time of first boot. So let us go to the AWS console, and I have already written one script. I will show it to you. So this is one small script. So this is one small script. This is a bootstrap script, and here you can see we have used bin bash as a shell. Then what we are doing is we are getting a root access. We are changing the user from Ubuntu to root. After that, we are running some commands like yum update -y, yum install -y httpd, and then we are starting the HTTP service. We are enabling HTTP service at the time of startup, and we are writing one index.html file, and in that index.html file there is a thing written is like hello world from the host name of that particular server. So we will execute this script at the time of startup. We will just copy this, and then let us go to the AWS console. Okay, we are here, and we will go to EC2 service. Okay, click on instances, launch instance. We will choose Amazon Linux 2 AMI. Click on next. We will choose T2 micro, that is pre-tier eligible instance. Next. We will keep everything as it is. We will go with default VPC. We will only have one single instance. All the other settings we will keep it as it is. The only setting we will change is like advanced setting. Here we will write our user data. We will copy and paste the code from the notepad file to this user data, and this script will be executed when you when your instance is getting booted up. Next, add storage. We will go with same 8 GB of RAM. 8 GB of storage. We will not, if you want, we will let us give the name. my first user data script. Next, we will choose the security group which we have created yesterday in our first lab. So we will select the security group which we have created yesterday, and in that security group, as we know that we have allowed HTTP, HTTPS, and SSH port, right? So we will go with final review and launch. Click on launch. We will select the key pair which we have created yesterday. Choose an existing key pair. I will select my first instance key pair. Click on launch instance. So this instance will take little more time to get up and running because we have added a user data script here, and user data script will get executed and it will get all the updates, and it will install Apache packages and start the services. So we will wait for some time and let's make sure that this instance is up and running. Okay, this instance is up and running. It is still initializing. We will wait for the IP address. You can copy the IP address. You can try to access it. It is not yet up and running. It is still, here it is. So our script successfully got executed and it has installed HTTPD packages and it has created one index.html file. So we have not logged into the server. Without logging, we have successfully installed using user data script. So I hope this is clear, like what exactly user script is and how this can be used to automate your installations, right? So we can write various different scripts. You can automate everything, and if you want, if you want to have multiple servers of such configurations or an identical configurations, what you can do is you can write your own script and you can execute, and you can have like number of instances selected, like for example, if you want same instance, identical instance in number of 3, you can select 3 instances and all the 3 instances will be up and running with the same user data script and all the data will be available there. So this we have done. We have executed a script and we got our web page, right? The next is we will learn about EC2 instance launch types. So there are different launch types we have when you go and select EC2. So there are different instances. We get on-demand instances that can be used for short workloads or predictable pricings. Then we can get reserved instances. Reserved instances are like we have to reserve the instance for at least minimum of 1 year, or maximum we can go with 3 years. We get better pricing benefits on that. So reserved instances are generally for long workloads where we know that this is the server which is going to be a long term for our company or for our customers or for us, right? So we can predict that instead of going with on demand, we can go with reserved instances. So in that way, we can also save some cost. We can go with convertible reserved instances. Convertible is like we get a flexibility if you want to go and change the instance type. So we can go and change the instance types in that convertible things. In reserved, you will not get chance to change the instance type. Whereas in convertible, you will get the chance to change the instance type. So this is again for a long workload with flexible instances. Schedule reserved instances. For example, you want the reserved instances only for once in a week, right? So that you can schedule, like I need for doing some task, or my team is having some task that needs to run on a weekly basis, right? And that requires a good compute power. So in that case, what you can do is you can have some kind of reserved instances, and on that reserved instances can be used for your specific task. So it will automatically get scheduled, it will automatically start, and you can have your instances up and running on every, let's say for example, Thursday, right? And it is available between 3 to 6 or whatever time you want. Spot instances, again, it is like a short workloads for cheap and can lose instance and it is less reliable. Spot instances are like there are workloads or there are computes which are lying available with AWS. So what AWS is doing, I mean, you can bid for those instances. You can bid the pricing for those instances, and if your bid is successfully approved, you can get those instances. But there is one condition: if someone else is again bidding, and which is the higher price than your, you will lose that instances. So this instances cannot be used for a production thing. This can be used only for a testing purpose. Instance, if that instance is gone, your data will also go. So this is again not reliable instances. It can use it. This can be used for any kind of testing purposes, or for a demo kind of a purposes. This can be used. Dedicated instance is like no other customer will share your hardware. So that hardware will be dedicated to you. No other will come, and that no one else will use this particular hardware. Dedicated host, you can book the entire physical server. So you will get a bare metal server, and you will get a complete control of that particular dedicated host. So like there are some tools wherein those tools are required a specific dedicated host, right, for the licensing purpose or for the compliance purposes. So in that case, we can use this kind of instances like dedicated instance or a dedicated host. We will see some things in details. EC2 on demand. So we have to pay for what we use. Billing is per second after the first minute. So when you launch your instance, your billing will get started. So it is like per second billing. So till the time you use, you have to pay for that. If your instance is not working, I mean it is in a stop condition, you will not be charged. Only the charge will be applicable for your storage. But your compute power is not in use, you will not be charged for that. Has the highest cost but no upfront payment. So this is the type where you have to pay highest cost and you don't have to pay upfront. So after using, you will get a monthly bill, and at that time of monthly bill, you have to pay the payment. So there is no upfront payment. No long-term commitment. You can start today, you can stop tomorrow, or you can stop after 1 year, or you can stop after any time. It is recommended for short-term and uninterrupted workload where you can't predict how the application will behave. So for example, we don't know what application we are going to deploy, what exactly the compute power will be required, how many users will be coming to your websites. So we are not sure on that part. So in that case, we can start using EC2 on demand, and we can continue using this on demand for at least couple of months. Once we are sure that this is going to be a fix, and then we can convert it into a reserved instances. EC2 reserved instances, we get up to 75% discount compared to on-demand instances. The condition is there are two different options. We have to pay upfront or we can do a partial payment. So there are two different options. Reserve payment can be for 1 year or 3 years. You can reserve it for 1 year or 3 years. Reserve a specific instance type. You can select the type which you want to reserve, and based on that you can do your reservations. Recommended for steady state usage application. For example, database can be one of your workload which you know that database is something which is must to have, right, for your application, right? I mean it is not compulsory, but if your application is designed in such a way, so database will be compulsory. So the database can be one of the workload where you can think of having a reserved instances instead of going on demand. So where you can save some kind of a cost. The next, in this again we have seen like we get two different options. One is reserved instance and no convertible. You cannot go and convert those instance types. And the other type is like convertible reserved instances. You can go and change the EC2 instance types, and here you will get up to 50% discount, wherein if where you do not want any kind of changes in the instance type, there you get 75% of discounts. Schedule reserved instances. Launch within the time window you reserve. So when you require a fraction of a day, week, or a month, so whatever time you want, you can reschedule and you can get your instances at that particular time. EC2 spot instances, as I said, you have to bid for that. can get discount up to 90% compared to on demand. 90% discount is very huge. So this is again a good instance type. Instance that you can lose at any point of time if your max price is less than the current spot price. So as I said, if your if your max prices is less than current spot price, you will lose that instance and you will lose all your data which is stored on that particular instance. The most cost effective instance is in AWS. This is one of the most cost effective type. It is useful for generally workloads that are resilient to failure. So we don't bother about the failures. So that kind of workload we can have it in on spot instances. For example, it can be like bad jobs. It can be like data analysis, image processing, or etc. Right. So this kind of workload can be hosted in a spot instances type. Not great for critical job like database, because in database we used to store certain amount of data, or for the web servers or for the production environment we cannot use this type, because if we lose our data it is of no use, right? Great combo reserved instances for baseline plus on demand and spot for peak. So we can go with the combinations like having one spot instance, having one reserved instance, and having one on demand instance. So we can combine all these instance types and we can have one architecture ready. EC2 dedicated host, physical dedicated EC2 server for your use. You will get your physical dedicated EC2 server. You get full control of EC2 instance placement. So where you want to place, you get full control of that. Visibility into underlying sockets, physical cores of the hardware. So you get complete controls of the sockets. How many cores are there? You can manage the cores of the hardware. Allocated for your accounts for a 3-year period reservations. You can allocate yourself for 3 years. It is more expensive compared to the other ones. Useful for software that have complicated licensing model. So as I said, I mean, there are if there are any specific tools or any compliance or regulatory needs where you need to have a specific dedicated server, you cannot share the hardware with anyone else. So at that time, you can think of having a dedicated host or a dedicated instance. EC2 dedicated instance. Instance is running on a hardware that is dedicated to you. So there is a physical box which is registered on your name. So that is something which is which we can call it as EC2 dedicated instance. May share hardware with other instances in the same account. It may share hardware with other instances in the same account. No control over instance placement, can move hardware after start or stop. There is no control over the placement. Here you can see some differences between dedicated instance and dedicated host. It enables to use dedicated physical server. Per instance billing subject to dollar per region fees. Per host billing, visibility of sockets and cores, it will be available in this. Affinity between host and instances, target instance placement, automatic instance placement, add capacity using allocations and request. We will not be able to do a demo on this. I will be showing you this, like how you can go and reserve your instance, how you can go and buy a dedicated host and so on. So how we can choose, I mean, which host is right for me, right? So on demand, again, so there is one example of an hotel, or on demand is like coming and staying in the resort whenever we like, we can pay the full price. So it is like come and visit, stay till the time you want and pay for that. Reserved is like planning ahead, and if we plan to stay for a longer time, we may get a good discount. So if we go and do a booking upfront before a month, we might get a good discounts. Spot instance, the hotel allows people to bid for the empty rooms and the highest bidder keeps the room. You can get kicked out at any time, right? So if you get the person who can bid the higher price than you can get kicked out from kicked out from the room, right? So this is not a reliable thing. Dedicated host, we can book at the entire building of the resort. So this is entire building or entire resort will be booked for yourself, right? So price comparisons, for example, I mean, I have taken the example of M4 large, and the region will be like US East 1. So the price type and price per hour, right? So the price per, I mean, the price type is on demand. See, on demand price for this instance and in this region is $0.10. This is per hour price. And if you go with spot instance, the spot price is like 0.032, 0.045. So you can see it is up to 90% off. If you block the spot instances, for example, for 1 to 6 hours, the spot price again the same. Reserved instances for 12 months with no upfront payment. So you do not want to pay upfront, you can go with monthly billing. So it will be like 0.062. If you go and do upfront payment, full payment, then you will get 0.058. Reserved instances for 3 years with no upfront payment. So again, it is different amount. Reserved convertible instance for 12 months with no upfront payment, 0.071. Reserved dedicated instance for 12 months all upfront, 0.064. So these are all the pricing for different various instance types and pricing per hour. So this is something which you can keep in mind, and you can design the architecture and you can share it with your management to take the approvals. EC2 pricing, EC2 instance prices are per hour, varies based on these parameters. So the prices are different based on these parameters. The region you are in, so for example, currently you are deploying the instances in India, the pricing will be different. If you are deploying in US, the pricing will be different. Instance type you are using, so which instance type you are using, so prices again varies based on that. For example, on demand versus spot versus reserved versus dedicated host. So these are the instance types. Prices are different for all these types. Then the pricing may vary based on the operating system which you choose. For example, Linux is open source, so there will be no charge for the operating system. But if you go and select Windows, so there might be a charge applicable for the Windows licensing or any other private OS. For example, the other different vendors, they have kept their images on AWS Marketplace. If you go and choose that, so there are billings available listed on their pages, AWS Marketplace, and pricing can be charged based on that. You are billed by seconds with a minimum of 60 seconds. So minimum 60 seconds if you run, you will be charged. You also pay for other factors such as storage, data transfer, fixed IP, public address, load balancing. So if you go and choose other services like storage, so whatever data you store, right? So when you create an EC2 instance, you might be storing your data in the hard drive. So that is, what is your hard drive? Your hard drive is EBS volume. So that is elastic block storage. So whatever data you store in that will be charged. Data transfer, so whatever data transfer you do, right? So for example, you are doing an inter-region data transfer from one region to a different region, so that will be charged. So these are the kind of data transfer wherein I will show you an example of AWS calculator. So that is one of the great tool which you can use for analyzing the cost. So whatever your architecture you design and what will be the estimated cost of that, you can calculate based on the parameters which you fill in. Fixed IP, we have seen yesterday, like if the elastic IP, if you want fixed IP, then it will be charged. Public addresses, load balancing. If you attach a load balancer, then again it will be a costly, I mean it will be a chargeable solution. You do not pay for the instances if the instance is in stop condition. So as I said, if you run an EC2 instance and if it is in a stop, you will not be charged. So for example, what you can do is, I mean, uh, if you run any kind of workload on EC2 instances, right, and that instance is only being used 8 hours a day, your working hours, during your working hours, right, and after working hours you can schedule a shutdown of that. So the instance will get shut down after 8 hours, and again in the morning it will again start. So you will be charged only for the 8 hours when you run during a day. Rest for the rest hours you will not be charged. So in this way you can save your cost. EC2 pricing, for example, I have taken T2 small. in US East 1, North Virginia, and the cost is 0.023 per hour if used for. So for example, this cost is based on this parameter. 6 seconds, it cost 0.023 divided by 60. So this is the cost. For 60 seconds, it cost 0.000383. 30 minutes, it cost 0.0115. 1 month, it cost 16.56, assuming 30 days in a month. So this is something this is how you can calculate your cost, and you can use this AWS calculator for seeing the pricing. I will show you in the AWS calculator as well. Okay, let us see the AWS calculator first. You can go and type AWS calculator. The first link which you see, calculator.aws. So this is the AWS calculator. You can click on create estimate. And here there are all the different services. So whichever services you want, you can click on configure and you can get the billing. So here we can select EC2. Again, in EC2, there are different options. EC2 dedicated host, Windows Server and SQL Server on Amazon EC2, Outpost, Carrier IP, Elastic Block Storage. There are different options. We will choose Amazon EC2. Click on configure. You can give it a name, test. You can select the region where you want. For example, I am selecting Mumbai, Asia Pacific. Change the region. Here you can select the operating system which you want, Linux, Windows Server with SQL. There are different options. We will go with Linux. Then there are different instance types, right? So here you can go and type your instance, which instance you want. You can select from here. There are different instance types, or you can go with this option. You can select how many vCPUs you want. For example, I want 2-core processor and memory should be like 4 GB. And so this is the hardware or this is the instance type which suffice your requirement, like 2-core of processor and 4 GB of RAM. So this is T4G.medium. The charges are mentioned here, 0.0224. This is per hour cost. 2 vCPU, no GPU. 1 year reserved cost. If you go and reserve this instance, it will be chargeable this. So again, you can see the difference in the pricing. 4 GB of RAM and network performance up to 5 gigabytes. How many instances you want, you can go and select that. If you want multiple, you can select 2 or you can go with 1. Pricing strategy you can define if you want to go with a saving plan, the reservation kind of a plan, 1 year, 3 year, upfront payment, partial, full payment. And there are compute saving plans, standard reserved instances, convertible, and on demand. We will choose on demand. And here you can see calculations. One instance, this much price, 730 hour. This is the total cost for 1 month, 30 days. Block storage, if you go and attach a block storage to that particular instance, the hard drive, you can select different which hard drive you want. We will choose general purpose SSD. The storage is like I am selecting 50 GB. And here you can select show calculations. You will find how much cost for this EBS it will be. So 50 GB is like 0.114 USD. One instance, that is 5.70 storage cost. So the total cost, if you go and see, for running T4G medium, it will cost you 22.05 USD. You can add this into an estimates, and if you want to go and share this with some of your customer or your management, you can go and create a link and you can share this with your management. So this link will be shared directly to the user. So this is how you can calculate your monthly cost or the annual cost, the estimates of that. So this is AWS calculator demo. Okay, now we will again go to AWS console and we will see how different instance type we can go and choose, right? So here you can see we have created an instance. Okay, these are on-demand instances, and there are different instance launch types. Here we can select instance types. So you will find all the instances types here. So there are all the instance types which are listed here. Okay, you can go and review all these instance types. How many instance types are there which you want for your infrastructure, right? Spot request, if you want to have a spot instance, you can go and go to spot request. Here there is an option of request spot instance. When you click on that, you can select different parameters: load balancing workload, flexible workloads, what kind of exactly, I mean, what is the purpose of having a spot instance. So you can select those. Configure your launch template if you have any, or if you do not have, you can create your own launch template. You can select AMI which you want, like Amazon Linux, Ubuntu, CentOS, Fedora, whichever Linux you want. You can select that particular image. Specifications or the instance types which you want, you can change the instance type, which VPC, which availability zone you want, keep your name, how much capacity you need, I mean, one instance, two instance, how many instance you want, maintain the target capacity, set maximum spot, I mean, set the maximum cost for the spot instances. So these are all the things which you can have the parameters applicable, and then you can create a launch instance. So this is something your instance will be launched, and you can see the target pricing is the 74% of saving. So this is again a huge amount, good percentage of saving. So any kind of workload which is again a temporary and which is okay. I mean, if the instance is taken away, nothing can be lost. So in that scenario, you can use this kind of spot instances. Saving plans, you can go to saving plans. You can have the reserved instances. So there are different saving plans: flexible, significant discount. You can purchase saving plans if you want. You can go to reserved instances, purchase reserved instances. You can select what you want, which platform you want, tenancy, default. If you want a dedicated host, you can select dedicated. We'll go with default, offering any class, convertible standard, T2 micro, term like 1 month or 12 months, 36 months. Payment option, are you going to pay full upfront, no upfront, partial, and then you can click on search, right? So after selecting this, you will get an option like which you want, right? You can go and add to cart, and that is it. You will get that particular instance. So if you have selected full upfront payment, your payment will get deducted and that server will be assigned to you. Dedicated host, if you want a dedicated host, you can choose dedicated host. Same thing, you can select allocate dedicated host, provide the configuration which you want, and your dedicated host will be assigned to you. Again, there will be an option of having reserved. If you want it for 1 year, 3 year, you will get that option. Schedule instances, if you want for a specific time period, then you can have a schedule reserved instances. You will get an option of begin. You can go and click on begin. You can create a schedule, and based on your configuration which you want, instance type, kaun sa chahiye, platform which you want, which availability zone, everything, the parameter which you want, you can select that, and based on that you will find your estimates here. So this is how you can allocate different types of instances in your AWS environment. The next thing, AMI. So what is an AMI? We have seen AMI yesterday in AWS Marketplace. There are so many different images which are there. For example, as we see, AWS comes with the base images such as Ubuntu, Fedora, Red Hat, Windows. There are different images which is available there in the Amazon Marketplace. These images can be customized at a runtime using EC2 user data. So as I said, when we have already seen our previous demo on EC2 user data. So what we have done in that is we have created an EC2 instance with the Amazon Linux, and we have customized it with installing HTTPD package and having our index.html in that particular EC2 instance. So that is something which we have customized. Now, once we have that server ready, up and running, so what we can do is we can create an image of that. We will see in a demo like how we can create an image of that particular instance, how of running instance, and with that AMI, how we can create a new instance, the same instance. So we will see in a demo. But what if we could create our own image? So this is something we will see. That's an AMI, an image to use to create our instance. AMI can be built for Linux or Windows machine. It can be created for both. Why would you use a custom AMI? Using a custom built AMI can provide the following advantages. Pre-installed packages, like for example, like which are the packages. For example, in office environment, we know like this is the department will require so many packages, right? For example, Office will be required, Google Chrome will be required. We have a checklist of that, right? So what we can do is we can customize our image of Windows having all the pre-installed packages in it, and that image can be installed on all the different machines. So at the same time we can have 10 number of machines starting at the same time. You don't need to go and manually configure those, right? So that is a beauty of having an customized image. Faster boot time, no need for long EC2 user data at the boot time. Machine comes with a configured with monitoring enterprise software. Security concerns, control over the machines in a network. All the systems are configured seamlessly with single configurations. So there is no doubt of like the person wearing, configuring a different machines with a different parameters. So if you have one single image with all the security configuration done in it, the same image will be applicable to all the systems, right? So there will be no flaws. Control of maintenance and updates of AMIs over the time. Active Directory integrations out of the box. You can do Active Directory integrations. Installing your application ahead of time. You can deploy it faster. Using someone else AMI that is optimized for running an apps and DB. So there are different AMIs which is already there available. You can use someone else AMI, or even I can create custom image and I can share it with you on your AWS account as well. AMIs are built for a specific AWS region. So again, this is a region based. This cannot be a global. So if you have created a region image in Mumbai region, you cannot find that image in US region. So let us go and see how we can create an image. We will again go to AWS console. So here you can see my instance is up and running. We have not removed that instance. We will go to action instance. There is an option of image and template. So here there is an option. I hope it is visible. Click on actions, then go to image and templates. Here there is an option of creating an image. I'm giving my first custom image. We'll give the same description. If you want to give any kind of tag, you can select the tags and you can give it a tag. I'm going and creating an image of it. So I've selected create image. So within some time, you will find that your image will be up and running. Your image will be ready. So from here, there is an option. You can go to AMI, and here you can see your image is getting created. See, the status is pending. We will wait for some time, and we will see our image will be ready. And once our image is ready, we will go and launch an instance using that particular image. So you can see this image is available now, and from this image we will now create one new instance. Again, we will go to instances, click on launch instance. We can select my AMI. You can see there is my custom image which is available. Previously there were no images because we have not created any images. Now we have created an image, and we can select this. We can go with the default configuration T2 micro. We will not assign anything, no user data, nothing. Default 8 GB of storage. You can give it a name, my AMI based instance. Select existing security group. Next, and launch. We'll choose a key pair launch instance. So now you can see the instance will be up and running in some time. And here one difference which you will see, the previous instance which we have created, here you can see the details of it, and you can see using which image we have created this instance. Here you can find that. You can find here Amazon AMI, and in this you can see the image will be like the AMI name, which will be like the custom image which we have created, and the AMI ID is this. So within some time this server will be ready and it will be up and running. We'll wait for some time. So you can see there is an IP address. We will try to access web page. So you can see we have not done anything, and our server is ready with Apache, our HTTPD packages, and the index.html file, right? So we haven't done anything. It got ready using our image file, right? So this is the beauty of it. So I hope this is clear how we can create an image, how we can use the custom image to launch the instances. EC2 instance, again in EC2 instance there are different types of instances, different families. So we can see which are the different families of EC2 instances, and we can get some difference on that, right? So there are instance have 5 different characteristics advertised on their website. First is the RAM, type, amount, and generation. CPU, it is again type, make, frequency, generation, and number of cores. Based on input output performance like disk performance, EBS optimization. Network, the network bandwidth, network latency. The graphical processing unit, that is GPU. It may be daunting to choose the right instance types. There are over 50 of them. So you can go to this link aws.amazon.com ec2/instance-types. We will go there. Types. So this is one link wherein you can find there are different instance family: general purpose, compute optimized, memory optimized, accelerated computing, storage optimized, instance features, measuring instance performance, right? So there are different families of it. Again, in that family also there are different categories: Mac, T4G, T3, T3A, T2, MG. There are different families, right? So again, you can choose, you can analyze what exactly your requirement is, and you can, based on that, you can select which instance type will be best for your application or your workload. Generally, if it is a basic web server or a basic application which you are deploying, you can go with general purpose. And if your application is compute hungry or requires some more CPU power, you can choose compute optimized. If your application or your workload is memory hungry and which requires a more memory, you can go with memory optimized. Accelerated, again, these are again EC2 latest generation GPU based instances where you need more graphical intensive work, you can go with accelerated computing, where you get feature is up to like 8 NVIDIA 8 tensor core GPU. Storage optimized, these are the types where if you want, I mean, your application is like storage hungry, where you need more input and output throughput. So read write throughput. So in that case, you can use a storage optimized instance types. So these are all the instance types, instance families. Based on your requirement, you can select the right instance types, because this is again based on billing. If you choose the higher instance type, so charges will be again based on that. So I recommend generally to each and every user is like, start with minimum and scale it as you want. You can scale it vertically, you can scale it horizontally. So whatever scaling types scaling you need, you can scale it as and when needed, instead of going upfront or going with a higher instance type. There is one more website which gives you the complete information. ec2instances.info. ec2. So this is also one of the website which you can use for getting the information about which type of instances are available on AWS. So there is a complete list of it. You can go and search here. There are different options available. For example, 4 GB of RAM, 4.0. Okay, you can find different options. 10 GB, 12 GB, 128 GB. So there are different instance types you can see. Okay, you can sort it based on your requirement. If you want 2 core of processor, you will find all the options here. If you want 48 core processor, you can find it here. So these are the two different websites which will be a great help for you for comparison. Again, there are different options in this EC2 as well as RDS. So both the instance types will be available. Burstable instances. These are again T2 instances. AWS has a concept of burstable instance, T2 machines. Burst means that overall the instance has okay CPU performance. The CPU is okay. You will not get very good performance in terms of compute. Uh, when the machine needs more processing than something unexpected or a spike, it can burst a CPU. So for example, you will get certain credits of CPU, okay, and that credit will be used when there is a certain spike in the load, right? At that time, that credit of CPU will be utilized, and that CPU, once utilized, it will take some time to again get the credits back. Okay, so if the machine burst, it utilizes the burst credit, and if all the credits are gone, the CPU becomes bad. And if you use the complete credit, the CPU performance becomes more bad, right? So make sure, if you are using T2 instances and the workloads are like for testing purpose, then it is fine. But if you are using it for a production environment, then it is not recommended to use this instance types. If the machine stop bursting, the credits are accumulated. So if your performance is like consistent, and if it is going below the certain limits, then it will start adding some credits again. It will start credit getting accumulated again. So burstable instance can be amazing to handle unexpected traffic and getting your insurance that it will be handled correctly. So it is kind of an insurance that we have taken a policy. So whenever there is a need of that, we can go and use that policy, right? So this is again the same thing. So whenever there is a requirement, that credit can be used at the time of spikes. If your instance is consistently runs on the low credit, you will need to move to a different kind of a non-burstable instance. So if you see that your credits are consistently getting used, then it is a time wherein you can decide to change your instance type. This is one table where you can see like how many credits you get in which instance type. how many credits. You can see T2 Nano launch credit is 30, one CPU credit per hour is 3 hour. So if it is consistent, you will gain 3 credits per hour. Maximum is 30. Maximum is 72. vCPU baseline CPU performance is 5%. So this is a complete CPU credit family. I mean information. T2 unlimited. So there is one more concept in EC2, T2 unlimited, wherein you get unlimited credits, but again that is a chargeable, right? So we need to be very cautious while using such instances. So it is possible to have unlimited burst credit balance. So there is no limit of how much credit you want. You can use n number of credits. You have to pay extra money if you go over credit balance, but you do not lose the performance. But this is for sure that your performance will be up to the mark. So whatever CPU is required, it will be taken from the credits. Overall, it is a new offering by AWS, so we have to be very careful from the cost point of view. So if you are consistently going beyond using credit limit, you might see that spike in your billing as well. You can go and read some information about how this T2 unlimited can be used and how many credits and what is the billing of that. So this is something which is a link of that. Elastic Network Interface, ENI is a network card which is attached to your EC2 instances. So it is again a logical component. It is not physical. It is a logical. For us, it is always a logical because we are using virtual servers. Logical components in a VPC that represent a virtual network card. ENI is called Elastic Network Interface. Can have following attributes. It can have private IP, one or more secondary IPv4, elastic IPs per private IP. You can have one elastic IP per IPv4, one public IP. If you want, you can have one public IP, one or more security groups attached to elastic network interface. You can have one a MAC address. So each and every network card or network interface will be having their own MAC addresses, unique identification. You can create ENI independently and attach them on the fly. Bound to specific availability zones. Again, it is bound to specific availability zones. So I will show you a quick demo. Here you can get the network interface options. From here, if you want, you can create a network interface. Currently, you can see there are 2 instances up and running. So there are 2 different network cards. If you want, you can go and create one more network interface, and you can attach the newly created interface to an existing EC2 servers. So here you can see there are 2 network interfaces which are already there. You can see the details on which VPC it is and where it is attached, what is the IP address of it, private IP, public IP, everything here you can find. So we are completing AWS fundamental section 1. So the final checklist is like we know how to SSH into our EC2 instance, how to change the PEM file permissions. We know how to properly use security groups, what is the fundamental difference public IP and private IP. We know how to write a user data script, how we can customize our instance using user data script at the time of booting. Now we know how we can build our custom AMIs to enhance our operating system. EC2 instances are built by seconds and can be easily created and thrown away. So whenever you want, you can create your instance. Whenever your work is done, you can go and destroy the instances. So this is how cloud works, and welcome to the cloud. So that completes our fundamental section 1, and from tomorrow we will start fundamental section 2, and in that we will learn load balancing, auto scaling, and EBS volumes.